Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home. Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Welcome to the Freebirth Society podcast. This is a radical space for women who are ready to celebrate their autonomous choices in birth, motherhood, and beyond. Together, we'll learn about wild birth through personal narrative, we'll explore the politics of birth, and we'll analyze everything that relates to our lives as women from a feminist perspective. Here's your host, Emily Saldea.
It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Imagine a world where girls are properly initiated into their first bleed, where mothers and daughters talk freely and openly about their bodies, and where women care for themselves and each other outside the lens of medical pathology. We can have this world, but we can't do it without you. Kristen Hauser and Nancy Lucina are bringing the first ever Blood Mysteries School to Freebirth Society this winter, a 4-month journey alchemizing the sacred and the science of the power of the womb. You will learn how to properly initiate and reinitiate women and girls through powerful rites of passage, support the women in your community through cycle issues, womb pain, and hormonal imbalances, and take a deep dive into the spiritual and energetic components of our blood mysteries. If you are a birth keeper, an energy healer, a postpartum worker, an herbalist, this school is for you. And if you're a woman wanting to dive deep into your own healing for you and your lineage, this school is for you. If you are ready to be a part of the generation of women healing the hormonal chaos and womb trauma that runs rampant in our female bodies, head over to bloodmysterieschool.com and enroll today. We begin February 2nd. Ellie's motherhood journey started with a hospital miscarriage initiation. After vowing to never return to the system that disrespected her, she went on to have a wild pregnancy in the energizing presence of the women of the first round of the Radical Birthkeeper School. Ellie goes on to free birth in the quiet presence of her husband and her mother. Ellie shares about the internal work she had to do to choose her epic birth, how she learned the art of surrender and then stepped into trust and motherhood with the experience of her baby's perhaps less than optimal transition earthside. Ellie's beautiful story shows us what it looks like to fully trust birth, our bodies, and our babies.
Ellie!
Hi, Emily.
This is such a treat for me. I've missed you so much, and it's so nice to be meeting in this way. And I can't wait to hear the whole thing from beginning to end. And, for me being virtually a part of, some of your story, some of your pregnancy, getting to witness you in the Radical Birthkeeper School. And it's just really been a joy to have you in my life and to have supported you in the ways I got to and to know you. And I'm happy to be here.
I know, I love you too. It's so special to be on this journey of sovereignty and just birthing autonomy. And I'm so grateful to be in relationship with you in all the ways. I'm glad that I got to get to know you a lot more last year through Radical Birthkeeping School. And it's wonderful for me being on the other side, being a mother. I feel like I've listened to the podcast for a long time and then had a conscious conception and had a wild pregnancy and had a glorious, epic free birth. And now I'm a mother, and now I'm sitting here before you, transformed. Yeah, so it's super cool to have this opportunity to catch up and really dive into my journey with you. So I want to say that my journey starts with a miscarriage that I had in 2018. It was an unexpected pregnancy, and it took me a while to accept that I was pregnant. We were busy as heck, and I don't even know like how we did it, but there I was, pregnant. And we were just about to get married. So it was just like the timing was crazy for us. We were farming, and I was also waitressing, and it was just really busy. And I wound up pregnant, and I accepted that. And there was a day where I started to like have really bad cramping. And I had already like aligned like a midwife and a doctor. I was like pretty into wanting to have like a home birth, but I wanted to be supported by someone. And so like when I had that cramping, I called the doctor and the midwife, and they suggested that I went to the hospital, like my doctor and midwife separately. And I didn't know that I was miscarrying. They told me that like something could maybe be wrong, and like I don't know. I just was naive, and I didn't know what a miscarriage could look like. I didn't know that like I have water breaking, and I didn't know I'd be pooping just like you do in birth. And I wish that I had known, because I would have loved to stay home and miscarry. Yeah. I would have loved to like give that back to the earth and like hold that little baby that I grew. But instead I went to the hospital, and nobody told me there that I was miscarrying either. They were just like, okay, yeah, interesting. You know, it could be this, it could be that. And it was just like, no one respected me enough to tell me the truth. And I was so scared that I also wasn't able to see the truth or like look at it. And so they like brought me into ultrasound to like have an ultrasound to like see what was going on. Even though I literally did, my waters did break, and I was pooping and I was bleeding like crazy. Like now it's like very obvious to me what was going on. So I went in to have an ultrasound, and the ultrasound technician was like, oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm not really seeing a lot. And I'm looking on the screen, and I'm like, there's nothing in there. Like I can see that, like I must be miscarrying. And so I went to the bathroom, and I was sitting on the toilet, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely miscarrying. And this part of my journey still just like hurts my heart, because I miscarried into the toilet, and I wasn't able to like catch the tissue that I had. And so like I flushed my first baby down the toilet, and that was all the fuel that I needed to get out of the system. Like I felt like I was lied to by my midwife, by my doctor, by everybody at the hospital. And I was just like, what the hell are these people? Like, why didn't I have a choice? Like, where was my choice in this? I didn't know how to seize it for myself, and the people that I was trusting to take care of me weren't giving me that.
Right. Like when a system provides no guidance, it's like a flat experience. It's like so strange to move towards these systems to help us, but they don't actually guide us in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. It's quite gross, actually.
It was really gross. Yeah. It took me a lot of time to heal from that. A lot of time.
How far along were you with that one?
I was 14 weeks.
Oh yeah, that's not nothing.
It wasn't nothing. Yeah. It was a whole thing. So it was intense. And 6 weeks after that, I got married, and I had my first moon on my wedding day after miscarrying. No. And everybody had known that I was pregnant. So I had to tell everybody that I wasn't pregnant. And yes, yeah. I was bleeding, wearing like my wedding dress and like doing that whole thing.
Wow.
And so it was a really big gift for me on giving back to the mother, and to learn how to be of service, and to like pull myself out of this darkness, like this grief. Like, where's my baby? Like, why did I just lose my baby? Not only like, why did I lose my baby, but like, why did I have to lose my baby down a toilet? Like with these people who I didn't love, like supporting me. Like this, it felt so weird. So it took me a lot of time to heal from that. And a lot of the work that I did was just like letting go of my child child, you know, like we could have conceived again, but I really didn't want to be attached to like the notion of having a child. I felt like that work was so important to let go of like my entitlement, my attachment, to being a mother, and really just focus on healing myself and healing from that experience. And the tools that I used to heal from that experience were a lot of guided meditations of connecting to the Divine Mother and the Divine Father and coming into my heart and just like seeing the whole world as like my child and seeing me as a child, like just coming into the arms of the Earth Mama and letting her hold me in my tears and my blood. And I became so connected to my blood after that. Like, no way am I going to flush my blood down the toilet ever again. Oh my God. Wow. So I just started to, you know, like bleed outside, and like, just it totally revamped my relationship to my menstrual cycle and to, yeah, my idea of like what women go through, like the darkness sometimes that you have to go through. And it turned me onto the podcast. I don't remember how it got introduced to me exactly, but I was so hungry for knowledge and information outside of the medical realm that I just like was so smitten by all the stories. And yet I knew I wasn't ready to conceive again. So
good question. When you are talking about bleeding outside, what does that look like? What do you mean?
So I already mentioned that I'm a farmer, so I work a lot outside. So like when it was like time for my moon to be with me, I would just wear a skirt and I would just like squat and let my blood fall down to the ground. So are you just like say thank you?
You're one of those women that can like, does that imply, because I have some friends that know how to do this, that like they can feel the blood like pooling, and then like they can open their cervix in a squat and release the blood? You can do that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not as direct as that, but like you don't just like bleed and bleed and bleed. Like maybe for like my first day, if I'm really heavy, like, well, but for the most part, it's like I mostly just bleed when I'm like, I release and I like let it go, or like I'm squatting or bending or moving, or like a lot of times when you have to pee, like it just flows.
Yeah.
So that felt really good to just like be connected in that way and to like be willingly giving my blood back to the earth.
So you would just be like, I'm going out for a couple hours, I'm bleeding, I'm wearing a skirt, and then the blood would just run down your leg, go into the earth. I love it.
Yeah. I had like a skirt that was like my bleeding skirt. So like if I needed to like, you know, whatever.
Totally.
Keep myself fresh.
Totally. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love this concept of free bleeding. And also I think though a lot of people kind of talk about it, I always love hearing like new ways that women are doing it, you know, like free bleeding while farming. That's a new one. I love it. Yeah, I have a girlfriend who can control it in a way that I haven't figured out how to do. And she just wakes up and walks outside and squats in her garden and just opens her cervix, gets her blood out, and then just goes about her day. I have not figured that part out yet. But I guess I also haven't tried. Maybe I should try before I say I can't do it. Okay, I'm inspired.
Yeah, I honestly feel like there's like a magnetism between like our cervix and the earth. So like when you put your cervix so close to the earth, it just like spirals open. It's like, yes, I'm one with you. Here you are. Yeah, it's beautiful. Women and their blood mysteries are so beautiful, so powerful, and so potent, and such a strength of our creativity. Yeah. Okay, so I think the next part of my story that I want to share, we decided to, so like 2019 was like deep soul work for me. It was October that I miscarried and October that I got married, and it was just like deep, like shadow work, like letting go of attachments, connecting to my ancestors. I started doing a whole bunch of research on my ancestors, and I actually found out that my maternal great-grandmother's parents, so my great-great-grandparents, are buried like 10 minutes down the road from where I was living and where I miscarried. And I figured out that I'm like related to like half of the town that I live in, and I had no knowledge of this at all. I figured out that relatives lived in the house that I was living in. So I was just like unearthing all of this
Cool.
crazy ancestral knowledge. And it felt so cool to be like revisiting the same exact land where my ancestors had been, and like creating a whole new paradigm of like feeding ourselves with health and wellness, of conscious connection, and just like, you know, doing things differently. It made me realize that, I mean, not just me, but I feel like my generation, we're a generation of like alchemizers. We're a generation of transmuters. Like, we're given the shit and then we compost it and like we grow amazing food out of it. And like it's nourishing. And like you have to be willing to do that shadow work, I think.
I also love imagining how many of your ancestors in that same area worked outside in the dirt while blood ran down their legs on their skirt, you know? That's awesome.
Definitely doing the same work.
Right.
Absolutely. And it was so wild that it was just like right under my nose. Like, it wasn't that many generations ago. It was like 3 or 4 generations. Like, why was that not like, why don't we talk about this? Like, why don't I know these things? Like, where is my heritage and like my traditions and my family? It's just all been like Americanized. And it's just like this kind of, for me, it feels like a wound of like, where are my people, where is my heritage, where are my traditions? And so I get to like create it all and like be the genesis of like, with my son now, like this is what we do to like celebrate solstices or like holidays, or like, you know, this is how we eat. It's like coming up with a whole new way of being. And I feel like my ancestors are very close to me still, and guiding me and supporting me in this journey of like sovereignty and like self-discovery and like conscious familyhood, I guess. Yeah, that's a thing. Conscious familyhood.
Yeah. Brand it.
Okay, so yes, so 2019, doing a lot of work, doing a lot of guided meditations. We decided that we want to move to Oregon. My husband's family is in Oregon, and the climate there's a lot more mild for farming, and so we sold our house like that, and we packed everything up, and I moved away from home. I felt like I needed to let go of everything that I had created here. There's like a lot of rich history and some stories, and we went for it. So we moved to Oregon, and then we're doing some more like self-discovery workshops and just awakening. And I'm still working on healing from that miscarriage. And at this point, I started to feel like I really was missing something, and I had filled up myself and my cup enough to know that like there's a spirit baby or 2 or 3 like on my shoulder, like asking to come in. And I had to let go of a lot of fear to let them in. I had to surrender, because I was like, I don't know if like I even can be pregnant. And when I am pregnant, I'm not going to get an ultrasound. I'm not going to go to a midwife. I'm not going to play the game for a false sense of security. Or like, I guess it's not even a false sense of security, because for a lot of people, that is their reality. The security that ultrasounds provide is like a safety net for them. But
no,
for
it's
me,
false. It's false because it's an illusion. So even if they believe in the illusion, it's still an illusion. Like, it doesn't improve outcomes. It only shows a heartbeat in that moment, right? So the thing that it gives people is that their baby's okay. Mm-hmm. But that's a lie. A machine cannot say a baby is okay, right? Mm-hmm. So right. I would argue it is an illusion for sure. But so it sounds like you were already totally aligned with the wild pregnancy, free birth path, but you've been listening to the podcast and you've been doing all this work. So even before you got pregnant, is that accurate that you were like clear on the path you would choose? Yeah, totally. Like after just like, you know, reading a whole bunch of books, listening to the podcast, I was like, all right, I'm down. I'm a wild woman. Like, inevitably, this is who I am. And if those women can do it, so can I. Mm-hmm. I just felt really scared about conceiving. I just felt like
it was so hard the first time. I was like, I don't want to lose another baby. But I was like, wait, if I do lose another baby, I can totally handle it because I just did that. And I just got to dive into it and do it. So we started our conscious conception journey, did like some parasite cleanses, did a detox, did just like, you know, all that good, dirty human work. And we conceived pretty fast. It's like in April of 2020. Oh, and it was amazing. Amazing. I did take a pregnancy test. I mean, I knew that I was pregnant, and I did take a test just to be like, not torturing myself. Because, you know, yeah, that's where I was at. So, and then throughout my pregnancy, I made sure that I ate really well, of course, and I exercised. And I was so hungry for information about birth and women's stories and cultivating faith. For me, that was like the most important thing, is just like believing in myself, believing in my baby, believing in my body, believing in my husband, and that like this is the work that we have to do together. And letting go of attachments, like letting go of all the what ifs that just continually arise to the surface. And I remember like pretty much once a trimester, I'd have like an epic meltdown where I was like, you know, my baby's going to be born and something terrible is going to happen, whatever. And it wasn't like I was attached to that story. It just was like wherever that fear had manifested in my body from miscarrying, it was like I had to like touch that wound again and like touch that place inside of me and like gently transform that energy. And so I remember like being 9 weeks pregnant and reaching out to the Freebirth Society like membership and being like, ladies, I gotta like tell you, I'm so scared right now, and like please witness me as I'm like doing this work, because it's a rite of passage. And so to like have that community to weave the web around me just gave me like the sense of stability that no matter what, I'm okay. This is my journey and this is my choice and I'm responsible for it. And it's the work that needs to be done. I can't like push that fear down. I can't, you know, it needs to be transformed.
And at what point do you decide to take the RBK school in your journey? Because I'm also picturing you get pregnant in April, which is also when COVID starts.
Mm-hmm.
So like your entire pregnancy is mapped by the first 9 months of all this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering that part, like, what is it like for you when you decide to take the school?
Well, since we just moved across the country, I was pretty like living in my own little bubble. Like I was just spending a lot of time outside and a lot of time like with my dogs and like cooking and like doing my own thing, because I'm like pretty disconnected from like mainstream media. And honestly, when COVID started, I was like, it's a whole bunch of bullshit. It's just gonna blow over. Like people get all hyped up about this stuff anyways.
So it wasn't a big point of stress in your pregnancy?
No, not at all. Honestly, I wasn't like worrying about it. I was like, okay, I gotta wear a mask, like whatever, it's fine, not a big deal, this is gonna blow over. I didn't really like think it was something serious, because I'm like, I have a strong immune system, it's fine. It has like a 99% survival rate, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
It's not a big deal. I just wasn't at all concerned about it. I still think it's a bunch of baloney. Like I can't even take it seriously, because it's just like what? Doesn't make any sense.
It was basically just a giant way to vet people.
Oh yeah.
That's my takeaway.
Like,
oh, you believe everything you hear? Got it. Good to know.
No, it just like fuels the fire of like, okay, this is my journey and that's your journey, and that's fine. And I'm glad I know about your journey, and this is my journey over here. Yeah. So when I decided to join radical birthkeeping school, I just felt the call, because I felt so like burned by the system, by like miscarrying in the system, by my midwife, my doctor friend, and the whole hospital, that I was like, I acknowledge I'm a white privileged woman, and those are the resources that I have, and they still like sucked. So I'm like, where are the resources for the people that want to be doing this like out of sovereignty and out of self-responsibility? I feel like I need to create that in my community. So I remember just like reading the RBK, like, this is what we're offering. And I just was like, yes. Just like elevating and like, holy shit, I obviously have to do this. Like, I'm here, I'm pregnant, I'm not working. The whole world is like crazy. I don't like know anybody over here. I got work to do. I need a virtual community. I need to be with like-minded women. Oh, and I'm so glad that I did that. It was like the best thing ever to be pregnant and to be walking with a tribe of women. And not only to be like learning about myself and like the tools that I not necessarily needed for birth, because like, you know, you can just sit in a room and birth. But for me, it was comforting to learn everything that I learned about childbirth and radical responsibility, all the tools of self-discovery. Those are all really helpful tools for me to have in a conscious conception and wild pregnancy and free birth. It definitely helped like my rational mind grasp what was going on. And yeah, just helped me transform that fear even further. Totally.
And then I got to meet you.
Yes, that was amazing. That was so cool.
So good. We just kept like touching each other's arms.
Like, here we are together.
Real life.
Yeah. And part of why I had to go meet you there in Las Trampas was because that is like the ancestral grounds of my husband. So like his family,
yes,
yeah,
that's
like
cool.
lived there forever. So it was crazy for me to be in Naples, where my maternal lineage is, and then go to New Mexico to meet my tribe, you, the Freebirth Society sisters, and then also be in the lands of my husband's ancestors and carrying our child. It just felt like I was making like this grid across the country.
Totally. That's cool.
Like magnetism. Yeah. Super cool and beautiful. So I felt really good being pregnant. I loved it. I didn't really do anything besides just be healthy and like be vibrant, and a lot of guided meditations, a lot of time outside, a lot of like rubbing my belly, massage and baths and teas and herbs and food and just like all that good folk medicine, you know. I didn't like going for an ultrasound. I didn't do anything systematically. And I loved that. The mystery is like so ripe. Oh my God. I can like hardly wait to be pregnant again. Like I can wait, but I'm like really excited for baby number 2.
So is there anything you want to say about your third trimester before you get into the birth story?
So honestly, I just felt really good, like being pregnant. Like I wouldn't even just say good, it was like vibrant. I felt so fruitful and so big. I was humongous. And it felt so grand to be so full of life. And I loved just like feeling the baby. And I had like no idea what position he or she was in. And it just was so wonderful. I loved it. I spent a lot of time alone and outside, and honestly there's not really anything like super memorable from the first, second, or third trimesters. Like I just was doing my thing the whole time and it felt amazing. And I guess I can speak to that I went to 43 weeks, so I knew like right when I conceived. So when I was 42 weeks along, my mom came to Oregon to visit us. And
I remember this.
I thought I was going to be postpartum. So, and I guess I'll say that with my own birth, my mom chose to get an induction with me. And then she joked that they pulled me out with salad tongs. And it was just like awful, but I'm here and it's okay. And she was okay with that. And at first, like when I was a kid and she told me the birth story, I was like, oh, haha, salad tongs, okay. But then I woke up and was like, what the fuck, Mom? Why did you sign yourself up for an induction? Yeah, and I really felt robbed of like my birth journey. So I will insert here that I had to do a lot of work to heal from my own birth journey. Like I feel like I would have baked for way longer, and I probably would have been a Sagittarius. And I'm like, being a spicy Scorpio now. which is fine. Like, there's no, like, I obviously don't have any regrets of how I was born, but like, I don't
funny.
like that. My mom made a fear-based decision to have me induced and to do that. And like, I do respect that it was her decision, at least, to be induced. But I just think it's awful that she had to go through that. And I think it was traumatic for me as a baby, like, without a doubt. Like, I feel like I have an injury, like, in my shoulder from birth.
You were
like,
literally drugged and pulled out.
Yeah.
Of course.
From my first home.
Yeah, it's so sad.
So with my own baby, when I'm on my third trimester, I'm just like, baby, you can bake for however long you want. Like, hang out in there, like, do what you need to do. Like, there's no rush or pressure at all in the world. I will be a rock for you because I want you to have the experience that I didn't get to have. So like when 42 weeks rolled around, I was like, this is fine. I'll go to 43, 45, heck, 46. I don't know. I'm just going to go forever for however long it takes. And I'm fine with that.
I wonder what the like Guinness Book of World Record is for longest gestation ever.
I'm really curious to find that out. I don't know.
I'm going to look at it after this.
Yeah, please do. So yeah, when my mom came, I had to like we have a small house in Oregon. Like, there's a spare bedroom, but there's just one bathroom, and she was staying with us. And I wanted her to like be there close with us. I didn't want to like do the whole thing of like her getting a hotel and renting a car, and like I wanted her to be close and together. So I really had to like lay down for her what my expectations were of her being in the home, where like that's my sanctuary, and that's where I'm going to do like some of the biggest, greatest, grandest work of my life. So I made my boundaries like really clear to her, and I made sure that before she was coming, she wasn't going to interfere at all with my birth. Like, not at all. Like, you're not going to use the bathroom. If you got to like do something, you got to figure it out. Like, that's my space. And she was amazing. She was like so cool. It was so great to have her there. I labored for 18 hours and I was in the bathroom the whole entire time. And I totally forgot that she was even there, honestly. And I kept my husband really, really busy during my labor because I was just like a wild, wild, wild little monkey, hopping and pooping all over the place.
Oh, and is your mom just like in her room reading a book?
Well, I think she had like some rain sounds on so she couldn't hear anything. And like her earphones or whatever, like definitely noise, so she couldn't hear me because I was so loud. And it was a nice day, so I think she was like going in and out. She had access to a vehicle, so like maybe she went somewhere, I don't actually know. But she just kept busy. She like cleaned the whole house, did all of her laundry, made food, just like kept busy. And she really was supportive for my husband. Like, he totally needed support during my birth. Like he made me ginger tea and like bone broths, and like was just like poop cleanup and like keeping the water hot and making sure I had this and that. Like, he was just catering to my every whim and was just amazing. And I'm really glad that she was there to support him. It was really, really special. And it was just like the coolest thing in the world to have my mom there, as far as like ancestral healing goes. Like, to have the next generation be born in the eyes of a generation that was used to trauma and was used to like obstetric violence, and that was what she knew. And she had to face her own fears. For me, like, I had to ask her to confront her own darkness in order to like witness me in my birth. And she did. And that's huge, because I think a lot of moms couldn't do that. Like, witness their child like yelling, and she obviously loves me so much, and yeah, she had to witness me in some of like my darkest hours, and she was a baller. She freaking did it, and we're so close. It's just amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, so the week before my birth, like the week she was visiting, like we drove 2 hours to the ocean. I was hiking, climbing up hills, and like just being wild. It was amazing. I have such like fond memories of that time being so huge and being so active, and yeah, it was awesome. So my mom was going to leave on Friday, the 15th of January. And on the 14th, we were walking at the dog park and we were going to do another loop, but I was like, no, let's go back to the car. And I got in the driver's seat and I started to take a bite of whatever I was eating and my waters broke. And I was just like, oh my God, I am going to give birth.
Aww.
It was so cool. And then I had to poop so bad. And so my mom drove me home and I did my business and then nothing happened. Like I didn't have any pre-labor, no mucus plug, no anything. Like I didn't even have like any contractions. Like nothing happened. I had no indications that I was getting close to birthing my baby other than I was so spaced out. Like my mind was obviously like in a different realm. I was just like spacey and floaty and soft and just like floating on a cloud, you know, but like no physical symptoms of labor, really. And then my waters broke and everything was still fine then. So we just like ate dinner and hung out. And I was like, yeah, you know, my waters are open. It's fine. I feel great. My husband and I made a lot of love, like up to that point, like in my 3rd trimester, and that was amazing. And we just like massaged each other and like got cozy and walked in the sunset and acknowledged that this was probably our last night together. And we went to bed. And it was so like romantic and special and beautiful. And it's like pretty much as soon as I went to bed, that's when the sensations, the waves hit me. And they hit me like a bag of bricks. It was just like, it was so intense, straight up. It was so intense and it was fast. Like the sensations were really close together. It was really, I couldn't handle it. I was just like, whoo, and like bouncing around the house and like squatting and like just like dancing and swaying, and I couldn't hold still. And throughout my pregnancy, I was doing like visualizations as to like how I wanted to birth and what the labor process looked like for me as I brought forth the light. And I thought my baby would be born like by dawn. Like I just envisioned laboring at night and like the sunrise as of course my baby would come out. You know. And so like in my head, I was like,
maybe your second baby.
It was totally that was a point of suffering for me in my bringing forth the light, because I was attached to that. Like, okay, like, yeah, it's like, it's so intense because my baby's going to be here really soon. So I was just like pushing and like, oh, like the contractions and like, oh my gosh, it was wild. I tried to like be calm, but I just couldn't be calm. I was just so like overtaken by the energy. Like I was listening to Yolanda's birth affirmations and, you know, Natasha Birth Magical, she has an amazing guided meditation, and I was doing those. And then I was just like, all right, fuck this shit. Like, this is crazy. Like, I don't want to be calm right now. Totally. I was just roaring and being so dramatic.
It's pretty dramatic.
Oh yeah. And you know, I told Jeremiah to like get out, go to sleep, like leave me alone. And he like did, but he's like, I have to take care of you. Like, this is ridiculous. You're pooping all over the bathroom. Like, you're not drinking. Like, I'm gonna take care of you. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, you can be here. Just like
it's like taking a lot of acid. You know, just like, can someone just take care of me, please? I don't have my shit together.
Honestly, I've done quite a lot of psychedelics, so I thought I was gonna handle it like way better. I was like, I'm gonna be a Zen cat. I'm gonna be the coolest cucumber. I'm so spacey and airy, and I feel so good. Like, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna surrender. And I was just like, I surrender. But like, that's not at all surrendering. And I really learned the art of surrender during this birth. So I think I called you after like 8 hours or whatever. My timeline is obviously super wonky because it's crazy. And I remember you telling me like, all right, you don't have to like it, and you're gonna do it anyways. And it was really reassuring to be like, yeah, I hate this actually. Like after so many hours. Oh, it was when like it was morning again. I was like, what the fuck? Where's my baby? Like, is this really what birth is like? Like it's gonna take this long and it's gonna be this hard for so long. Like, where's the gentleness? Like, why am I having such a hard time creating this?
Where's the gentleness? That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's true though. But that's one of the fun things about birth. That's like, it doesn't really matter how you feel about it. There's no like right way to do it. You're going to birth regardless of how you are in labor. You can kick and scream, you can hate it, you can be a peaceful hypnosis lady. It doesn't really matter. But I think getting through, especially in a first pregnancy, you spend so much time imagining the birth. And then you're like, bam, now it's actually on and it's nothing like you think it's going to be. But that is so cool. Like that is exactly right for the initiation into motherhood.
Yes, exactly. It's the fire walk. It's the transformation. It's like the great goddess mother having her way with you and like working her way through your body
in her own
like,
damn time.
That's right. You get to just like surrender to her. And
so
it was so wild. And so like since I was like being this crazy little wild monkey, I was like pushing because I was like, I'm gonna like help birth by pushing. Which I was pushing on an undilated cervix. So like I was like the worst thing I could have done. But I just got exhausted. You know, I was just like, by the morning time, I think like 11 o'clock, I was like, oh my God, I submit, I surrender, I'm totally drained. And I felt okay. My ego was like, I give up. I can't do anything anymore. Like, I'm done. And that's when birth really started to like progress actually started to happen. I mean, like, I'm sure I was progressing the whole time, but like, because I was getting tight, it wasn't allowing my body to do what it needed to do, I don't think. So I got in the tub and I just like, oh yeah, I had like a hand on my butt because I felt like my poor butt was just like on fire so much. So I was like sitting on my hand and I was in the tub and I just remember having like my hand over my face and just being like, like over and over again. And I think I fell asleep for a little bit. Like I just kind of like was in the realm and I just like gave up basically. And then the fetal ejection reflex started to happen. And I was like, I remember in like my kind of hazy sleep, I just got this like white lightning bolt of energy through me. And I was like, and I got up and was like, I can't help it. It's just doing it. And I was just like convulsing. And I was just like, oh my God, I got to get out of the tub. And then I got out into my hands and knees and I had like a sleeping pad on the bathroom floor in front of a full length mirror on the door. And I was doing this. I'm just going to show you because I don't know how else to explain it. So I was on like my hands and knees and then a contraction would come and I would like arch my neck and I would like arch my belly and my pelvis and like lean way back and like scream and just like protrude my belly forward. And I was like doing that rhythm for a long time. And I remember calling you and being like, this is happening to me. What's going on? And like you listened and you're like, yeah, like you might have to do this for a long time. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought I already was doing this for a long time, but now I'm gonna do this new thing for a long time. And I remember like looking at my hands and my wrist and they're so swollen and like my knees too. And like, thank God for Jeremiah keeping me hydrated because I was just like, I still got steam. Like I'm okay. But like, holy shit, my body is like, wow, like this hurts. Like this is crazy. And I remember after getting off the phone with you, I was just like, well, like, let me see what's going on. Because I hadn't checked like in my vagina for a while because I was like, I have to stop checking because like you just have to give up and like let go of like your attachment to your baby coming, because like you're driving yourself crazy. And then I felt his head, and I had this whole new wave of energy of like, holy goddess, sweet mother divine, I can feel my baby's head, he's coming. And after that, I felt like euphoric. I was just like doing that wave like I showed you and just was like surrendering and yelling and like excited. I had this whole like it just felt like ambrosia like coming through my crown and down through all of my chakras and into my pelvis as I just like spiraled open to receive my baby. And it was just like the most blissful moment of my life, feeling his head. And I remember just like, okay, I'm going to breathe. The fetal ejection reflex is working. I just have to like let it go. And I remember like being like, oh, that's the ring of fire. But being like really excited about it as like my yoni just opened and expanded to bring my baby forth. And his head came through. And I wanted my husband to like catch him because I was like using my hands to like support myself. And he came from behind me to like get the baby, but he like took weight off of the baby's head. And I was like, oh no, don't do that. And then a sensation came and the baby just like flew out onto like the little sleeping pad. Oh, and he was screaming. And it was a boy. And I was just like, of course, that's our son. He's here. He's in his body. This is what he looks like. And I just remember like picking him up and like looking at him with like the deepest peace and bliss that I'll ever experience, probably until baby number 2 comes. Oh, and he was just screaming his head off. And his cord was white. And that was really interesting. I thought for sure that his cord was going to be like purple and spirally and like just like pulsing still. And it was like totally white. And like he was done. Like that was his time. He came out. He came out at like 5:55 in the evening. And I just like held him and rubbed him. And I was like, holy shit, my mom's here. Can you go get my mom? And she came in. And, you know, we all just like basked in this baby and his glory. And his lungs were really raspy. He had a really short cord. And so I was like doing my best to kind of like suck some mucus out of his mouth and like pat his back and kind of like help him to breathe a little bit. Like he was breathing. He was just like raspy, like grunting. And yeah, I didn't have like a sense of fear, but I did feel like, oh, this guy's like, he's having like a little bit of a hard time, you know? And so I just like rubbed his back a lot and patted him and held him onto my chest. And, you know, we were doing like skin to skin, of course. And I was offering him the breast and we made sure we were nice and warm. And, yeah, I honestly didn't have any like fear or like any sort of like something is wrong. It just felt like, oh, like this is interesting. And this is how my baby needs to integrate his way into the world. So we got into bed and got cozy, and he was still like grunting and raspy. And I remember like Jeremiah was like, is this okay? And I was like, yes, but, you know, maybe we'll call Emily, but like let's wait till the placenta comes and then like we'll see what we need to do for like his breathing. Like maybe like he just needs more time. He also cried, like he cried for like a really long time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which honestly, it makes sense. Like his placenta had already like transfused like the rest of his blood into his body. Like he came out like needing to breathe because his cord was done. It was just like his time. And I feel like that's part of like why he came out so fast when he finally did come out. It's like, I think I was stalling my own labor by like pushing so much on an undilated cervix. It's like when he was born, his head had like a huge lump on it, like a big tennis ball. And I was like, oh, like I was doing that to you. Like, I'm sorry. You know, I didn't like know what I was doing. And babies don't hold grudges. So he's obviously fine. And it was perfect. And like nature worked through me anyways to like birth him perfectly. So yeah, when he was grunting, we called you and like you gave us some pointers on like some sort of positions we could do to like help him. And really, I just felt this like, we just need to rest and like be together. Like, I'm not gonna go anywhere or do anything. Like let's just see how he's like in the morning. He was having a hard time nursing because he was like gasping and like grunting so much. But we just fell asleep together. I just like held him.
I want to say here, because I saw the videos, of him / FaceTimed with you. I can't remember, but
we FaceTimed.
If you had been with a medical midwife, they would have transferred you with what he was doing for sure, because of the contractions and the grunting, and that it went on for hours. And I just wanted to say that before you tell the rest of your story, because it's always interesting to kind of play what goes on to be what becomes, of course, or what always was a totally normal variation. When you birth in the system, with the system, you don't really get the chance to explore the edges of what's normal, right? And so anyway, I just love that about your story, because it wasn't like a small thing. Like, he was, from, obviously I wasn't there, but it seemed like, from what I could tell and what you're saying, like he was struggling. It wasn't an easy transition. He was struggling, and it went on for some time, right?
Yeah, definitely. I just I still have a recording of what he sounded like, and it was taken at like 11:30 at night. So he was born at like roughly 6 o'clock, and for 5 hours it was like he was struggling, and the struggle continued for that whole while of like crying and grunting, and like it was just like this kind of cycle of like he would simmer and grunt, and then he would cry some more, and then he would simmer and like grunt, and we tried to nurse, and it was just like this cycle. But
when did it correct it? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When did it correct itself?
By the morning it was just like barely there, and by the morning he was also like nursing, so I was like, he's nursing, he's just got like a little gurgle. And I also knew that like by screaming his head off, that was how his bones were like adjusting the tennis ball lump on the sides of his head, and it was also how he's clearing his lungs. So like, even though it was like kind of hard to just like witness our teeny tiny baby cry for such a long time, I like had the tools and resources to know that like this is his medicine, and like this is how he's going to heal himself. And honestly, by the morning, like I think we woke up around, like we slept for a long time, which was amazing. I kept like getting up and checking on him, but I just felt a deep peace, because I felt like he's a warrior. Like, this is my baby, and I'm a warrior, and he's a warrior. And I didn't have like an alarm going off in my body, that like something was like truly wrong that required action. I knew it needed time. And I knew that I had come so far in my journey to transmute fear, that like now that he is here, I'm not going to like let fear get the better of me and like make a fear-based decision. I'm going to like hold on and sit tight and like trust. And then if I need to make a decision after that, then like I will, like I'm never opposed to like getting emergency help when if we like actually need it.
Well, and
but I didn't have that alarm going off.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the idea of like something wrong that needs action, versus, even if we were going to categorize it as something wrong that needs to be held and witnessed and supported. Right. And like sometimes the things that, let's just keep saying wrong, I mean, I hesitate to even use that word, because it's all orienting towards healing, but so many things, everything in our bodies orienting towards healing. So if something is less than optimal, like what you gave to your son was, you gave him an opportunity to create resiliency, and that he went through that and stayed on your skin in his home and became stronger because of it. Like, it's not just that he came in as a warrior, you created a warrior, by giving him the opportunity to heal himself and to correct the struggle, right? And the opposite would have been, which we know, taken to the hospital, you guys would have been separated, he would have been put in NICU, he would have been given oxygen and an IV and formula, and that's like all bare minimum. Probably, well, given that you had a wild pregnancy, he would have also been given antibiotics. I mean, there's a whole long laundry list of things that like pretty much would go down, not to mention we're in COVID. And so we'd have that whole aspect of it too. And who knows how many nights, and days he would have spent there. And then he'd have to pass all the tests to be released. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Right.
it's just a total freaking nightmare. And that creates a whole different type of person to run them
Mm-hmm.
through that,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, yeah, I just really like that part of your story because, and I'm not suggesting that this is the move for everybody or anything like that, but having mentors in my life like Yolanda, who defaults to sit and wait and see, defaults when her children get injured or sick. She's like, the body is healing. How can I support it? Like, that's it. It's taught me so much about action, the action being to hold it instead of to fix it. And I feel like that's really how you showed up for your little baby too, with total awareness, awareness over fear. Like, that could have been scary, and you held total awareness and presence, and you weren't naive. You weren't like, oh, everything's fine, I'm not going to look at this, and I feel like free birthers kind of get that rap of like, oh, it's so dangerous. Like, we're living in a rainbows and unicorn utopia where we think nothing bad ever happens. And it's so condescending and obviously not true. But in fact, you created an environment and then sustained an environment to witness what really was here. And then he moved towards total perfect lungs, perfect breathing. Really not in that much time. But anyway, yeah, I love that. And I have so much respect for your willingness to orient that way, and what a huge impact that will have and does have on who he is on it and as a human on this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still implementing, like, I trust you. I'm going to witness you. I'm here if you need me, but like, you got this. Like, with stairs, he knows how to get down the stairs. And it's because he, like, toppled down a stair or two once or twice. And he learned about gravity, and he can do it now. And he's 10 months old. And I think that's badass that he can go up and down the stairs by himself. Like, he's his own sovereign being, and I'm just his gatekeeper. Yeah, so thank you. I really appreciate that acknowledgement, because it was hard. It's always hard to witness somebody that you love like the most and that you just brought here suffering, or like having a hard time. But really, like, you just have to believe in them and that it's their journey, because being a human is full of those shadows, those dark times, those hardships, and you have to learn how to get through them and how to transmute them and alchemize them.
And there's a time and a place that only each individual mother can decide, like, neither of us are suggesting that there's never a time to step in or take action or use the medical system or any of that. Of course not. There's a time and a place, and only you as the mother can decide that and claim that. And so by you not doing a knee-jerk fear-based reaction, you were able to actually see what was happening, take all the information of it, and make what obviously becomes like the right move. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's absolutely thriving. Like, it's the best decision ever that I made, to just sit and wait. Because like I said, like in the morning, like the lump on his head was pretty much gone, and like he was breathing and just like had a little something, and it cleared up. Like, it ended up being totally fine and brilliant. And yeah, it's just like the most powerful thing ever. And we had a really peaceful postpartum. We just stayed in bed naked all the time, free bled, and ate a lot of soups and let ourselves be taken care of. My sister and brother came, and my in-law sister and brothers took care of us, and we just let ourselves be supported. And yeah, it was really powerful. And he's a really cool dude now. Because his own sovereign little baby self, he is just amazing. And I feel so honored that I got to bring him forth with such power. And I'm so proud of the story that I get to tell him. When he is older, how he came into this world. And yeah, it's an epic journey. It really is. It's powerful.
So proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Me too. That's amazing. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You just have to make the choice to do it. You have to commit to your freedom, and you have to commit to your intuition.
Yeah. And be willing to have it, right?
Absolutely. You have to be like 100% committed to your own inner authority and be willing to take responsibility. You know, even if something did go wrong in the birth, or like we had like a hardship that like resulted in something that was not ideal, I would rather be responsible for that than have somebody be responsible for me and my baby ever.
Totally.
100 million%.
I couldn't bear it. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
There's that Sister Morningstar quote, what one woman can do, all women can do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love that so much.
100%. I'm not like different or special. Like I just made the decision to be committed to my free birth, and I did it. My free birth, my baby.
I hear your baby back there.
I know. He's getting ready for his mama.
All right. Thank you, girlfriend.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be chatting with you, Emily. Thanks for having me. I love you.
Mwah. And that's it for today, my sisters. Check out everything we do, including one-on-one and group coaching, learn about our private membership, in-person retreats, and more on freebirthsociety.com. Our online courses are on freebirthsocietycourses.com, including our flagship course, The Complete Guide to Free Birth. Don't miss the Radical Birthkeeper School if you're ready to become the authentic midwife that women are searching for. Together we rise, and the revolution starts inside each of us. I'll leave you with our Free Birth Society theme song, Wild Woman by Aruba Red.
I honor you for the wisdom you held, the ancient traditions of plant medicine and womb magic. I feel the spirit of the ancestors as I place my hands upon my belly. This sacred portal will be honored. Eons upon light beams of survival, withstanding the eradication of our power by design. I will not allow the separation of our young to be forced upon me. My sisters will no longer birth in captivity. The picket line redefined from burning our wild women to paralyzing us and drugging our babes. Strapped down in a clinical white bed, drying up the milk from our breasts. Keep your needles. My family will never again be doomed to chase those dragons or your poison. We reject your fear. We choose love. Everything with intention. Death, ascension. I will fly and bring her back from the stars. Conscious conception.